This page is the front cover of the magazine and highlights several games. The main focus is on Furai no Shiren 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, with the text 2 prominently displayed, suggesting a strategy guide feature for this roguelike RPG, which was only released in Japan. The cover also mentions Perfect Dark and Custom Robo V2. There are characters from these games pictured, including the main character Shiren from Furai no Shiren 2, and characters that could be from Perfect Dark and Custom Robo V2. The top right corner mentions Perfect Dark / Custom Robo V2, and the top right section also announces new corner articles for GameCube and GB Advance, previewing upcoming features about the GameCube launch strategy and a report on the developers of Power Pro Pocket 3 for the Game Boy Advance. The cover price is 490 yen, and the issue date is December 2000. This page is the contents page of the magazine, highlighting the main articles and features. It kicks off with a strategy guide for Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, a Japan-exclusive N64 title. There are sections dedicated to upcoming Nintendo consoles, the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance section mentions Winning Post for GB Advance and Rockman XE. Other featured games include Doraemon and Perfect Dark, with a master strategy guide and a review for Perfect Dark. The new release flash section previews upcoming games such as Custom Robo V2, Koro Koro Kirby, Harvest Moon 64, Sin and Punishment, Banjo-Tooie, Mario Party 3, Mega Man Legends, DDR Mickey Dancing Museum, and Echo Delta. The page also lists regular magazine sections and an index of games with page numbers, along with a legend explaining game genre abbreviations. This page is an advertisement for the tabletop role-playing game 7 Fortress. It promotes the 7 Fortress Advanced Core Rulebook, highlighting that no computer or console is needed, only imagination and rulebooks. The ad also features sourcebooks such as Fortune Seas, Part 1 and 2, All Sales Ice Crystals, and Lean Sages, suggesting these expand the 7 Fortress universe with new scenarios and lore. The classic edition of 7 Fortress is also advertised as a re-release based on fan demand. Illustrations from the game and sourcebooks are showcased. This page is a strategy guide special for the N64 game Shiren the Wanderer 2. It highlights that the game is incredibly deep and replayable, promising to cover everything from the mountains to Onigashima in its strategy. The page features artwork of Shiren and his Koppa, alongside the game's logo, and boasts that reading this guide will make conquering Onigashima a reality. It also lists some N64 hardware details, indicating it uses a cartridge, and the price is 6,800 yen for a 256M game, an RPG for one player. It emphasizes advanced techniques and data to make your Shiren even stronger. This page is all about tips and tricks for Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2. It focuses on castle building in the game, explaining the importance of durable parts and materials for defense against Oni attacks. The page details how different materials affect part strength, ordinary materials being standard, mixing materials making them more durable, good materials making them strong, and the best materials creating unbreakable parts. It explains that Oni attacks happen before entering dungeons and can be predicted by the appearance of a specific character. Players are advised to quickly build their castle using materials gathered from dungeons and sell valuable items for better materials. The page highlights the importance of checking the castle building menu to manage materials effectively. Interestingly, the story progresses as you build castle parts, with new characters appearing and joining your party as you build more parts, culminating in reaching Oni Island when 20 parts are built. Finally, it briefly introduces two special dungeons, the Trap Master Dungeon and the Monster Master Dungeon, hinting at unique gameplay elements like befriending monsters in these dungeons. This page is about companion utilization methods in a game, likely from the Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer series, specifically Shiren the Wanderer 2. It provides 6 key tips for effectively using companions in the game. Firstly, companions will automatically attack monsters in the same area, which can be helpful but requires cautions. Secondly, companions recover HP as turns pass, and their remaining HP can be estimated by talking to them. Thirdly, companions are always visible on the map as yellow dots, even when separated, aiding in locating them. Fourthly, items entrusted to companions like Asuka and Marmee are safe, even if you are separated at the mountaintop. Fifthly, Be cautious with items that affect a wide area, as they can also harm companions, so avoid using scrolls or torches near them. Lastly, if a companion is defeated by a monster, they will drop any items they were holding, which you should pick up quickly. The page also introduces Himakichi, a turtle companion found in front of the udon shop Mikyumyu. His special ability is throwing items, and his dialogue changes depending on his HP level. He is particularly effective against bowyer-type monsters, as he can catch and throw back arrows. Himakichi can also fight in water, and retrieve items that fall into water, which is normally impossible for the player character alone. This page details companion strategies for Shiren the Wanderer 2. You'll encounter 4 allies. Riku, a weak-ranged attacker with a slingshot. Asuka, a powerful swordswoman who can equip weapons and check for cursed items. Mamo, a portable item storage jar with high HP but no attack. And Kira, a fire-attacking Oni princess whose power increases with level but can harm allies. Effective strategies include protecting Riku, equipping Asuka for strength, using Malamo for item management, and carefully positioning Kira to avoid friendly fire. The Wanderer's Heart section provides general tips on companion usage and their set locations. The next page is a guide to understanding the synthesis system in a roguelike RPG, likely from the Shiren the Wanderer series, possibly Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, for the N64. It explains how combining items adds special abilities called marks to equipment like swords and shields. The page details 3 key points about synthesis: that the type of item used influences the mark, that stacking the same mark increases its effect, and that marks can be removed at a special shop. Tables showcase various marks like life, brother, fire, and happiness, listing their effects when applied to swords or shields and the items needed to create them, such as herbs and scrolls. Screenshots illustrate in-game menus and gameplay within a dungeon environment. The guide provides advice on effective synthesis strategies and considerations specific to Mazalan synthesis. This page is a strategy guide section focused on 2, or Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle. It provides essential tips for item synthesis and seal management within the game. The page explains that base items significantly influence the performance of synthesized items, even with the same seals. It warns against adding too many seals, as excess seals will be lost during synthesis. Mazalan's pot is highlighted as a valuable tool for synthesis, especially for identifying unknown grass or scrolls. Recommended seal combinations for swords and shields are suggested, such as brother, 3, eye, Buddha, rice for swords, and bomb, leather, brother, skin for shields. It also discusses cursed items and negative effects, advising caution when using unidentified swords or shields found in mid to upper level courses. 2 tables detail seals specific to swords and shields and their effects. Sword seals include effects like attacking in 3 directions, increased damage to one-eyed monsters, increased damage to drain attack monsters, wall-breaking abilities, and HP recovery upon dealing damage. Shield seals offer benefits like reducing explosive damage, slowing hunger, poison resistance, item and Gitan theft prevention, reflecting attacks, counterattacking, evasion, and trap disarming. The page concludes with advice to experiment with seal combinations to discover unique and powerful item effects, suggesting players to try unconventional approaches to item customization. This page is dedicated to essential techniques for conquering dungeons in Shiren the Wanderer. It highlights different dungeon courses, starting from the beginner course focused on item collection, progressing to intermediate and advanced courses, which introduce scrolls and tougher enemies, and finally reaching the challenging Ogre Island. Each course has specific entry conditions and unique characteristics, such as the types of items you'll find and enemies you'll encounter. There's a table detailing Shiren's level progression and experience point requirements, which is crucial for getting stronger. The page also advises players to effectively use the warehouse and training ground in Natane Village to prepare for dungeons. It clarifies what happens if you die in the challenging Ogre Island dungeon, and provides a useful guide on how to recover from various status ailments like poison, sleep, confusion, and being stunned, ensuring players are well equipped to handle any dungeon situation. The screenshots show in-game action and menu screens relevant to item management and dungeon exploration. This page is a strategy guide for Furai no Shiren 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, a roguelike RPG only released in Japan. The guide focuses on item management and usage tips. It covers topics such as safely carrying items to prevent them from being cursed or lost, how to obtain rare items using Hengetsu's pot, and recycling scrolls to obtain new items. The guide also explains effective uses for specific items like the water jar to weaken monsters and extinguish fires, and the stick, whose effects can be reflected off walls. It provides advice on utilizing items strategically during gameplay, accompanied by screenshots showing in-game scenarios and item details. This guide offers gameplay tips for the Japan-exclusive N64 game Shiren the Wanderer 2. Key mechanics highlighted include wall breaking using items like tunnel staff to create shortcuts and steal items. Giton, the game's currency, can be thrown as a weapon, dealing damage based on the amount used. Players can use the possession staff to control monsters, leveraging their abilities but needing to protect Shiren. The slowing staff paralyzes enemies after 2 uses. Golden rooms, found by breaking walls, offer powerful equipment. Finally, the guide details obtaining and using discount coupons from merchants to significantly reduce shop prices. This page from a strategy guide for Mystery Dungeon. Shiren the Wanderer 2 focuses on how to identify unknown items, specifically staves, bracelets, and pots, without using precious identification scrolls. It teaches players to observe the effects of using unidentified staves on walls or monsters to deduce their type, showing a flowchart of reactions like breaking walls or monster transformations that correspond to different stave categories. The guide lists monster status changes, movement patterns, and other effects that help identify specific staves. Tables provide the sell and buy prices of various item categories for staves, bracelets, and pots, as item values at shops can be used to determine their identity. It's highlighted that item prices change based on usage count, and the Wanderer's Mindset tip encourages early item identification for dungeon survival. The next page provides tips on how to utilize traps to your advantage in Shiren the Wanderer. It explains how to find traps using Herb of Sight, which reveals all traps on the floor, and by noting that items do not fall on trap spaces. You can also use items like arrows or stones to trigger traps from a distance, which is useful to defeat monsters safely. The page discusses different ways to handle traps. Using the step command to deliberately activate a trap if you are on it, using items like water jar to neutralize any trap, and wooden mallet to destroy traps. It warns about equipment removal trap, which can unequip all your items and suggests unequipping items yourself as a countermeasure. It also describes monster trap, which spawns monsters when triggered. It suggests placing arrows on the ground and then triggering the monster trap to gain experience by defeating the spawned monsters. Finally, it cautions about landmine traps, advising players to be careful as chain explosions can occur. The next page is a strategy guide focused on forbidden thief techniques in Furai no Shiren 2, Oni Teikoku no Gyakushu, which was released only in Japan on the N64. It details how to become a thief by stealing items from shops and the consequences, such as encountering guards and dogs. The guide emphasizes escaping rather than fighting these enemies. It highlights scrolls that can be carried out of dungeons and explains that unpaid items cannot be brought back. Several thief strategies are presented with success ratings, including using large room scrolls combined with location swapping scrolls, digging holes, utilizing large whirlwind traps, and using high and jump grass for escape. The page concludes with advice to avoid direct confrontation with shopkeepers and focus on strategic theft. The next page is a strategy guide focused on how to effectively battle tough monsters, likely for Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2. It details using happiness grass to level up monsters to gain more experience when you defeat them. Mentioning monsters like Mamaru and Gamara are good for this. However, it warns against leveling up monsters like Kengu and Gaizu, as they become much more dangerous. The guide highlights specific items for instant monster defeat, such as using rice balls against onigiri-type monsters, and herb-cutting grass for ghost types. It also explains that visibility in corridors is limited to one space ahead, and suggests utilizing Himakichi monsters when fighting Mazalan, while also cautioning players to be wary of Kengu monsters attacking from behind. This page focuses on providing gameplay tips and strategies for Furai no Shiren 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, a roguelike RPG that was released only in Japan. The guide offers advice on how to handle different types of enemies, starting with the recommendation to prioritize defeating Tiger Ukho enemies first. It also suggests defeating Sweet Kamalu-type enemies while they are positioned on top of items. The page highlights the importance of being cautious when throwing monsters, and explains how to use ability ceiling to make enemies less threatening. A significant portion of the page is dedicated to explaining the use of clay figures, dogu, as a strategic tool, detailing their various effects, sounds, and optimal use cases. It categorizes different types of clay figures, indicating which ones are beneficial to break and which should be left intact. These include clay figures that deal damage, those for ranged attacks, magic cancellation, Gitan, in-game currency, rice ball, body swap, and tumbling clay figures. The guide also provides a technique for efficiently collecting items using the tumbling clay figure. Finally, it includes Wanderer's Wisdom, offering general advice for players. This page is a strategy guide page for the Japanese Nintendo 64 game, Furai no Shiren 2, Oni Shirai, Shirenjo, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Attack of the Oni Horde. It provides detailed monster distribution charts for various dungeons and floors in the game, categorized by difficulty levels: Beginner Course, Intermediate Course, Advanced Course, and Oni Island. The page includes valuable information columns. One column explains that the Mazel monster appears in advanced courses from the 9th to 11th floors, and Oni Island from the 9th to 12th floors, suggesting players hunt there when they want to synthesize with Mazel. Another column mentions that dungeons feature shopkeepers and merchants, especially Oni Island, where powerful items are sold. At the bottom, a section titled Wanderer's Mindset advises using soil as an item, highlighting its effectiveness against humanoid monsters in the game. Screenshots are shown of gameplay scenarios, including combat with monsters and in-game text dialogues. This page is about developer insights into the game Furai no Shiren 2 for the Nintendo 64, which was only released in Japan. It's an interview with two key figures from Chunsoft: Hikari Nakamura, the representative director, and Ichiro Tomi, the director. The interview highlights how they incorporated various challenges into Furai no Shiren 2, emphasizing the expanded gameplay and the new synthesis system where items transform when combined. They aim to make it accessible to newcomers to the Mystery Dungeon series, while still offering depth for experienced players. A key feature they discuss is the ability for beginners to reach the ending, and the various mechanics designed to help them. Two secret techniques are revealed by the developers. Nakamura's technique involves using the Mark of Fire and the Arm Ring of Rage to enable long-range attacks. Tomi's technique focuses on efficient resource management using rice balls and disposable swords as emergency food and weapons, emphasizing the value of pre-buffing disposable swords to +3/5. Both techniques are illustrated with gameplay screenshots and developer commentary. The page emphasizes that Furai no Shiren 2 is a satisfying game, even when purchased alongside the N64 console. This page is a preview for the Game Boy Color game Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer, GB2, Desert Castle, which was only released in Japan and is part of the Mystery Dungeon series. It highlights that this sequel to the Super Famicom Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer game takes place in a desert castle setting. Returning characters Pekaji and Oryu are featured as companions. The article notes that new traps and gimmicks are abundant in the dungeons. Screenshots showcase dungeon exploration, characters, and the desert castle environment. The text also mentions that this game features new elements compared to previous titles in the series and encourages players to look forward to more information. This page highlights Nintendo President Yamauchi Hiroshi's analyst briefing regarding the GameCube. Yamauchi discusses Nintendo's vision for the GameCube as a world-class entertainment platform, learning from past console development challenges and aiming for global appeal in their software. He points out that current Japanese software isn't always globally successful, and emphasizes the importance of creating new game genres by linking the GameCube with the Game Boy Advance, referencing the Pokemon series and the N64 game Pokemon Stadium as examples of console and handheld collaboration. The page also touches upon Nintendo's evolving relationship with software developers and their ambition to establish Pokemon as a globally recognized character on par with Disney. The page includes a screenshot from a game which seems to be Metroid Prime and a picture of the GameCube controller. This article offers early impressions of the GameCube from developers and retailers. Chunsoft's Nakamura Koichi was impressed by the console's power and the Mario 128 demo. Camelot's Takahashi Hiroyuki and Mr. Shugo praised the realistic visuals and controller design. Retailers anticipated strong Christmas sales, but prioritized selling existing Nintendo stock. They saw potential in the Game Boy Advance and GameCube. Nintendo revealed the GameCube lacked an official nickname and highlighted Game Boy Advance connectivity as a key feature for innovative gaming experiences. They were developing software with simultaneous releases in mind, but weren't ready to announce details. The Cube's room section lauded the console's user-friendly design, portability, and convenient handle. This page presents a comparison of the upcoming PlayStation 2, PS2, Xbox, and GameCube consoles, detailing their specifications and aiming to highlight their unique strengths. The PS2, already released, is noted for its backwards compatibility with original PlayStation games, its powerful polygon graphics, and its DVD-ROM and DVD video playback capabilities. Xbox, due to release later in the year, is touted for its superior image quality compared to PS2, its built-in network functions, and a standard hard disk. Finally, the GameCube, also expected later, is emphasized for its focus on game performance, unique hardware design, prioritizing functional beauty, and compact size. The page also features a Nintendo Q&A section, where questions about the GameCube are answered. It is clarified that the GameCube will not be compatible with SFC or N64 games. Addressing past criticisms of slow software releases on the N64, Nintendo states they are aiming to release more titles for the GameCube. Game development for the GameCube is described as being as easy as, or even easier than, for the N64. The possibility of porting games from N64 to GameCube is discussed, mentioning a 128 Mario demo shown at a presentation as an example of data migration, though it's noted that the program itself would need to be reassembled. Nintendo also indicates they are planning support for third-party developers and aiming for a strong software lineup when the GameCube launches. This page is all about checking out the latest information on the GameCube. It mentions the release date is planned for July next year, but it's just a plan, hinting it might be delayed similar to the N64 launch. The GameCube will use a unique 8 cm disc, smaller than a regular CD, but with double the capacity of a CD-ROM, enough to hold a game like Super Mario 64. They are aiming for 5 launch titles developed by Nintendo and other companies, hoping to have more games ready than the N64 did at its launch. The controller is highlighted as having 2 analog sticks and a built-in vibration feature, a step up from the N64's C buttons, becoming analog sticks and adding vibration without needing batteries. Price-wise, both the console and games prices haven't been announced yet, with people hoping for console prices under 30,000 yen and game prices to be reasonable due to cheaper media costs. There's also a scoop about game software footage found on an overseas website. This footage, from the Nintendo webpage, includes a title called Rebirth and demos of Cube Racing and 2 Human that were shown at the GameCube announcement event. Lastly, it questions why the A and B buttons on the controller have special colors, noting the unique button layout with A at the center and B, Y, and X buttons surrounding it, which is considered a distinctive form designed for easy simultaneous button presses. This page is centered on the Game Boy Advance and showcases the upcoming games revealed at the Tokyo Game Show (TGS) held in September. The article highlights the excitement surrounding the GBA launch, mentioning that there are 151 days left until its release from the date of this publication, October 21st. Konami's booth at TGS was packed with GBA software, and titles like Castlevania and Power Pro Pocket 3 were particularly popular. While big screen demos weren't available, the article notes the impressive screen quality of the handheld. The main focus is on Power Pro Pocket 3, the third installment in the Power Poke series. This game was playable at TGS, featuring both versus and success modes. Key improvements include the utilization of L and R buttons and enhanced graphics compared to previous Game Boy Color titles. An Extreme Play Report section delves into the success mode of Power Pro Pocket 3, noting the return of the Pro Paracore from the first game. It teases a storyline involving cyborgs, baseball, and conflict within the Pro Paracore, building on elements from Power Pro Pocket 2. Akata Atsushi from Konami's KCEOCS business division is featured, discussing the game as a producer. Overall, the page conveys anticipation for the GBA, and especially for Power Pro Pocket 3. This Game Boy Advance, GBA, Play Impression Special highlights several upcoming games from the Tokyo Game Show, TGS. Racing games include Konami YY Racing Advance and Golf Master AGB. Monster Breed is a real-time monster battling simulation. Akumaju Dracula. Circle of the Moon offers fast-paced action. Star Communicator is a communication game, while Mail to Cute is an adventure game. Hate na Satina is a colorful Picross-like puzzle game. and Momotaro Matsuri is a minigame RPG. Morita Shugi Advance is a shogi game, and Winning Post for Game Boy Advance is a horse racing sim. Finally, Doraemon is a 2D action game. The Extra Scoop information section emphasizes that playable demos are crucial for conveying the quality of GBA games. This page is an interview titled, Key Man of GBA Golden Sun, RPG Maker's Intentions, featuring Takahashi Brothers from Camelot, developers of Golden Sun for the Game Boy Advance. The interview discusses the development process of Golden Sun, starting from its Space World demo. The developers explained that the demo was not built specifically for the event, but rather an excerpt from the actual game, showcasing a dungeon part and event scene. They also discussed the challenges of GBA development, highlighting the skill and passion required, and mentioning memory capacity limitations. The Check 1 section explains energy, a crucial element in Golden Sun, described as a magic-like power that players gather and use, essential for solving puzzles and progressing. The Check 2 section introduces Mobile Golf, likely referencing Mario Golf GB, highlighting its communication features for multiplayer gameplay. A screenshot from Mario Golf GB is shown, asking if it has a similar system to Mario Golf GB. The developers expressed their intention to create a true RPG experience on the GBA with Golden Sun, showcasing the GBA's potential. They mentioned that while Nintendo fans may see Camelot as an SPG sports game company, they are actually RPG makers at heart. This page features Winning Post for Game Boy Advance, the newest horse racing simulation game played from the owner's perspective. This edition is compatible with the 2001 racing program, offering realistic races like TV broadcasts. The game allows interaction with various roles, such as trainers and jockeys, and emphasizes drama arising from relationships with 138 characters within the horse racing circle. Secretaries like Saeki Raiko and Shino Haruka are mentioned as supporting characters. The game is for the GBA, uses battery backup, and was scheduled for spring 2001 release at 3,980 yen. It suggested players can breed offspring of famous racehorses, like Grass Wonder, Special Week, and El Condor Pasa in the game. This page announces the latest game in the Rockman series, which is making its debut on the Game Boy Advance. The game is titled Rockman EXE, which later became known internationally as Mega Man Battle Network. The article highlights that this installment is set in the near future within a computer network world dealing with cybercrime and viruses. It's an action RPG for the Game Boy Advance featuring battery backup and communication compatibility. The page emphasizes the innovative and super hot battles in this new Rockman game. It explains net battles, which are described as a way to train battle techniques in the computer world, with rules in place especially within schools where random battles are forbidden. Basic battle strategies are taught in school lessons, supervised by teachers. The article also introduces battle chips as a key game mechanic and features screenshots showcasing gameplay and the user interface, including health bars and chip selection. There's also a mascot character named Trico, who seems to be related to game events and demos, mentioning the game was playable at events like Superworld and game shows. The article ends with excitement for the game's March release and praises the graphics on the Game Boy Advance screen and the strategic gameplay using battle chips. This page introduces Mega Man Battle Network, known in Japan as Rockman EXE, showcasing the game's story and core mechanics. Set in the Advanced Network Society of 200X, everyone uses PETs, personal terminals, and net navis. However, net crime is on the rise, with the evil organization WWW causing chaos. The story focuses on Hikari Neto, a 5th grader skilled in net battles, and his net Navi, Rockman. Rockman is described as having a personality and installed in Neto's PET. The page details gameplay elements like PETs, net navis, viruses that disrupt systems, and battle chips used in combat. Screenshots illustrate the game's world, characters, and battle sequences. It highlights the partnership between Neto and Rockman as they confront the threats of WWW. This page is a game preview for a new Doraemon game for the Game Boy Advance, which is described as a 2D action game. It's mentioned that this Doraemon game will be similar to the N64 Doraemon games, but in 2D. The game will allow up to 4 players to play together, and each character like Nobita, Shizuka, Gian, and Tsuneo has unique abilities that will be important for solving puzzles in the game. The page highlights the differences in gameplay styles for each character and how to utilize them. There are screenshots of gameplay showcasing different characters and environments, and it mentions a beautiful opening cinematic for the game that is full of mystery. This page is packed with strategy guides for different games. At the top, it features Perfect Dark, with tips and map guides for the initial 2 stages of the game. Joanna Dark is prominently displayed alongside action-packed screenshots. Moving down, Custom Robo V2 is highlighted with a chart strategy guide covering up to the middle stages of the game. Screenshots showcasing the robot combat are also featured. The bottom left corner focuses on Koro Koro Kirby, which is Kirby 64. The crystal shards in English, revealing how to unlock secret stages. A classic Kirby gameplay scene is shown. Lastly, Bokujo Monogatari GB3, known as Harvest Moon GB3, is mentioned with partner relationship tips. This section includes farm-themed screenshots and a cow illustration, although it is for the Game Boy and not the N64. The right side of the page is titled Strategy Master. This page is all about Perfect Dark for the N64, highlighting its advanced gameplay and features. It emphasizes the game's sophisticated AI, making enemies behave realistically. The article points out that the game isn't just about shooting, but also incorporates adventure and puzzle-solving elements. There's mention of full voice acting in the movie scenes, adding to the immersive experience. The page also talks about the numerous game modes available in Perfect Dark, suggesting a wide variety of play options beyond the main mission. The screenshots showcase in-game environments and action, and Joanna Dark herself is featured prominently. The article also mentions the game being a follow-up to GoldenEye 007, but with powered-up graphics and sound. It provides tips for players to efficiently clear missions by planning routes and avoiding unnecessary actions, utilizing the C buttons and 3D stick controls. It also mentions spy gadgets and the use of items in the game. Finally, the page details a cooperative mode for 2 players and a 4-player versus mode, indicating multiplayer options are available. This page is a technique guide for a first-person shooter game, very likely GoldenEye 007, aimed at beginners and intermediate players. The guide offers 5 key techniques to perfect missions. Technique 1 emphasizes reloading early and often, even if the magazine isn't empty, to ensure you are always prepared for combat. It advises doing this in safe areas. Technique 2 recommends taking cover behind objects to reload safely when engaged in combat with enemies, rather than reloading in the open and becoming vulnerable. Technique 3 advises players to check the mission information screen accessible from the start button if they get stuck, as it provides hints and details about the mission objectives, potential hazards, and important locations. Technique 4 suggests using auto-aim for players who struggle to aim accurately. It mentions that while not perfectly precise, it can greatly simplify gameplay, particularly when dealing with hidden enemies behind obstacles. Technique 5 warns players that enemies are still dangerous, even after dropping their weapons, and may pull out a new weapon, advising players to be cautious and ensure enemies are fully defeated. The page also highlights 2 weapons, the CMP-150 and the DY-357 Magnum, describing their features like rapid fire for the CMP-150 and high-power single shots for the DY-357 Magnum. It explains ideal scenarios for using each weapon. This guide focuses on intermediate techniques for the first-person shooter GoldenEye 007. Effective movement is crucial, utilizing the C buttons for zigzagging, wall hugging, and circling enemies. Offensive tactics involve precise aiming with the C buttons, including peeking around corners while firing. Exploiting enemy reload times is key. Bait them to shoot and attack during their reload. Aggressive rushes while firing are recommended when caught in the open. The guide also details 4 weapon types: the laptop gun, concealed carry, automatic fire; K7 Avenger, high rate of fire, large areas; crossbow, silent, stealth; and shotgun, widespread, close combat. This page provides advanced technique tips for a first-person shooter game, which is likely Perfect Dark. It emphasizes conserving ammo by using melee attacks and headshots when possible. The guide advises using traps to efficiently defeat enemies, suggesting weapons like the laptop gun, dragon, time bomb, sensor bomb, and remote bomb for strategic placement. It also highlights the importance of using sound to assess situations, recommending stereo sound to discern enemy locations by listening to footsteps and voices, and to be cautious when opening doors. Finally, it encourages players to thoroughly search levels for suspicious items and hidden areas, suggesting that hidden passages can be revealed. The page features screenshots of gameplay scenarios illustrating these tips, such as setting traps and finding items. This page is a walkthrough guide for Mission 1 of a game that appears to be set in the Datadyne headquarters. The mission objectives are listed, including disabling security camera management, obtaining a necklace key, transmitting files, and using the underground elevator. The guide focuses on the first two objectives: disabling security cameras by setting an ECM device in the correct location, and acquiring the necklace key from a character named Cassandra without killing her to avoid mission failure. The guide emphasizes using stealth to avoid triggering alarms by destroying security cameras quickly and strategically from a distance before being spotted. There's also a note about elevators in the stage, which can be used to freely move between floors, from the lobby on floor 1 up to floor 23. This page provides walkthrough tips for the Nintendo 64 game GoldenEye 007. It details strategies for various mission objectives, including getting a shield by defeating enemies in a specific room on the 22nd floor, guiding an executive to the 22nd floor to download a file, obtaining a laptop gun by letting an executive escape, setting an ECM mine after defeating enemies, and being cautious of enemies encountered along the way to the final elevator room. The tips emphasize using the laptop gun obtained earlier and being mindful of enemy positions and attacks. This page is a strategy guide for the Nintendo 64 game Perfect Dark. It's Mission 1, set in the Datadyne Underground Laboratory, focusing on infiltration and uncovering secrets. The guide outlines mission objectives, including investigating radioactive materials, activating cleaning robots, and stopping scientist experiments. It highlights key locations on a map, like Point 1, 2, and 3, providing tips for each area, such as using the CAMSPY to photograph radioactive materials, and the importance of computer activation in order to progress. The guide also mentions weapon locations like the sensor bomb if you have enough health, and emphasizes stealth tactics to avoid detection. It advises players to proceed cautiously through the underground passage due to enemy ambushes, and to use weapons like the CMP-150, found within the robot passage. This page is a strategy guide for a mission in what appears to be GoldenEye 007. The guide is broken down into 5 key objectives for Agent, Advanced Agent, and Perfect Agent difficulty levels. Objective 3 is to stop experiments in 3 locations. Objective 4 is to find experiment items, which are located in 3 different places, these being the Night Eye, K7, and the Trial Shield. Objective C describes using robots to navigate laser grids. Objective D is about opening doors using a data link. Finally, Objective 5 is to destroy machinery from a distance. The guide gives specific instructions for each objective, with screenshots illustrating gameplay. It mentions items like the Night Eye and Trial Shield being easily accessible at marked locations, while the K7 weapon is held by a soldier and can be obtained by using a maintenance hatch to avoid damage. It also details strategies for dealing with researchers, soldiers, utilizing robots to pass lasers, accessing data links, and using the K7 weapon to destroy machines from a distance. This page is a strategy guide for Mission 1, Protection, at Datadyne headquarters, in the game GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo 64. The guide outlines the 5 mission objectives: board Elevator 1, restart Elevator 2, shoot down the hovercopter, defeat all bodyguards, and return to the heliport for escape. Clearing the mission unlocks the R launcher cheat. There's a map showing the first floor lobby and the 21st floor, marking enemy locations and paths. Point A highlights a strategy to take out 5 specific enemies silently to acquire a magnum gun, emphasizing the importance of not being detected by other guards. The guide explains that Elevator 1 goes between floors 21 and 22, while Elevator 2, which needs restarting in Mission 2, operates between floors 1 and 21. Mission 1 advice focuses on navigating to Elevator 1 cautiously due to enemies around corners, especially when protecting Dr. Dorak. Mission 2 tips warn about bodyguards with shotguns and attacks from a hovercopter when restarting Elevator 2 using a computer in a room, suggesting hiding behind cover from the hovercopter. Screenshots show in-game views of elevator areas and enemies. This guide provides strategies for a Perfect Dark mission. To enter Cassandra's room, defeat all enemies on the 21st floor lobby, then the new wave that appears. This grants a key and the dragon weapon, found by destroying a wall with a hand grenade. On the 23rd floor, steal the R launcher from enemies discussing its use, as it is needed to destroy the hovercopter with homing missiles. Aim carefully, using lock-on, or go to the rooftop for easier targeting. Hide in the stair shadows at point 4 to defeat enemies before the lights come back on. This is the most challenging section. Finally, reach the rooftop helipad after destroying the hovercopter to complete the mission. Be aware of the female bodyguards on each floor. They carry shotguns and should be dealt with quickly. This page is focused on Mission 2, Carrington's Villa, from GoldenEye 007. It details the mission objectives, which include rescuing an ally used as a decoy, eliminating all snipers, restoring the wind power system, preventing hacking, capturing enemy soldiers, and rescuing Carrington. The page gives a breakdown for Agent, Advanced, and Perfect difficulty levels. There's a map of the villa exterior and gameplay tips provided for completing objectives within time limits and without taking damage. The page mentions that the starting locations differ depending on the difficulty level, with Agent and Advanced starting on a cliff and Perfect starting on the pier. It highlights that enemies on the pier are easiest to target and that the MP-150 sniper rifle can be obtained by completing a specific objective. The text emphasizes the importance of speed in this mission and suggests using the Golgo 13 headshot technique to eliminate enemies quickly and accurately. This page is a strategy guide for the Nintendo 64 game Perfect Dark, providing assistance for mission objectives. Mission 4, Find the Hacker Quickly, directs players to locations 41 and 42 to locate the hacker swiftly. Mission 3, Activate the cooling device before turning on the power, guides players to locations 31 and then 32 to activate the necessary systems. Mission 6, focused on rescuing Carrington, states mission completion is achieved by simply reaching the goal. The guide points out that item availability varies by difficulty level, a point C, and provides a point D hint on how to spot enemies hiding in shadows by utilizing aiming. The difficulty levels Agent, Advanced, and Perfect are noted as options, and the guide stresses the importance of speed and efficiency during gameplay. Screenshots illustrate in-game perspectives and map layouts relevant to the mission instructions. This page is a guide for custom Robo V2 on N64, focusing on the basics of gameplay. It introduces the fundamental controls and combat elements, highlighting the importance of mastering these to become proficient in battles. The guide explains the core actions, using the A button for gun attacks, B button for bombs, and Z trigger for pods. It details how each of these weapons functions in combat, emphasizing that guns are primary attack tools, bombs offer supplementary attacks, and pods can be used strategically as traps. The page also provides advice on battle strategy, focusing on understanding the terrain and using the 3D stick to aim attacks effectively. It mentions the cube robots appearing at the start of battles, and how understanding the cube sides, head, right arm, left arm, front, back, legs, and their transformation times can be advantageous. The guide suggests using bombs to control the opponent and guns to inflict damage, outlining a basic but effective combat approach. This guide offers advanced battle techniques for a robot combat game, focusing on 3 key areas. First, it advises exploiting downed enemies, attacking them while vulnerable, but retreating before their brief invincibility upon standing. Second, it stresses utilizing Holosseum features, like conveyor belts and damaging floors, to gain an advantage. Third, it emphasizes robot customization tailored to your opponent and the environment, considering factors like gun type, firing rate, and power, and using these to inform strategy. The guide also highlights the game's new feature of multiple robots with varying stats, encouraging players to experiment to find the best fit for their playstyle and counter specific opponents. This page presents a strategy guide for the departure chapter of the scenario mode in the Japanese exclusive game Custom Robo V2. It offers a day-by-day walkthrough, starting with Day 1, where the player obtains Ray 2 and meets Taihei and Genta, initiating special training. Day 2 involves battles at the Robo Station Square against opponents like Boy, Martial Dragon, Girl, Pico, Boy, Shumet, and Girl, Comet, after which the player visits Dr. Robo's lab and battles famous commanders from the previous game. Day 3 takes place in an underground factory where the player faces battles against Boy, Dicky, Boy, Propane, Boy, Kaiser Head, Girl, Comet, and Caesar, with a failed attempt to battle Yaiba. Day 4 begins with Genta waking the player, leading them to Yaiba's garage to meet Yaiba's twin brother Tsurugi, and culminating in a battle with Yaiba's brother Kenzo. The guide emphasizes choosing a wide-range gun weapon due to the fast movement of Shinichi's robot, recommending the three-way gun. For Fukashi's battle, which features a high defense robot, the advice is to use attacks that can inflict significant damage and to avoid close-quarters combat to prevent counterattacks. For the Caesar battle in the Colosseum, the environment features a conveyor belt, requiring caution to avoid falling into magma and taking damage. The recommended robot parts include the three-way gun, idling bomb, reflection pod, and feather legs. The guide suggests using bombs and pods effectively in battles. This page is a strategy guide for Custom Robo V2, a game that was released only in Japan. The guide focuses on tips for battles against specific robo characters on different days, from day 3 to day 10. On day 3, it's the Cattleya battle, and details the Hornet gun tactic and how to counter it. It explains the Hornet gun fires 5 shots in succession and suggests using double jumps to avoid it. Day 4 is the Kengo battle, which talks about moving robots and being careful of routes. It mentions Kengo uses trap guns and advises players to be cautious of the set traps and use bombs to counter them. The guide also suggests using the javelin jump in the middle of the stage to hide and attack. Day 10 focuses on the Jiro battle, second round, and the strategy is to jump into close range and use the shotgun to finish the fight quickly. It describes Jiro as using a metal grappler type metal bear robot, emphasizing the need to down him quickly with a shotgun and to be mindful of his rayfall gun. The guide also suggests using walls for cover and approaching carefully when using the shotgun. Throughout the guide, screenshots illustrate the gameplay scenarios and tactical advice given. The page is titled Commander's Secret Book and provides advanced gameplay tips. The next page gives strategy tips for battles across several in-game days. On the 9th day, it's about battling Tsurugi and Yaiba, specifically mentioning a battle with Yaiba, Lance. Moving on to the 10th day, the guide covers Yuri battles, advising players to use the Dragon Gun to defeat Yuri's multigun, emphasizing close combat and using cover effectively. For the first Takuma battle on the 10th day, it warns against close combat and suggests using the Gatling gun for long-range attacks to counter Takuma's drill gun. The 11th day focuses on battles at factory ruins with Hiroshi and Yoshio, including fights against Shonen, Schmidt, and autonomous mobile weapon, Oracle Head. Finally, the 12th day guide talks about a second Yaiba battle, suggesting a hiding strategy using the Excel gun against Yaiba's drill gun, and also tag battles with Genta and Taihei, plus further battles including Shonen, Kaiser Head, Yuri, Planeta, Yaiba, Lance, and Cleopatra, Dolphy, concluding with the Marion Park Festival victory and battles against Fukashi's disciple, Ilka Cleopatra. A key tip highlighted is the use of the A+R trigger combination to change gun properties in mid-jump, and utilizing the grander leg for fast ground movement, suggesting strategic gun switching and mobility are key tactics in the game. The next page is a strategy guide for Custom Robo V2, detailing tactics for battles on days 12 and 13 of the game. On day 12 for the third battle against Taihei, it advises that cannon robots are invincible, so players must attack first and use gun attacks to down the opponent, recommending the Dragon Gun, but warns to be mindful of its recoil. For the third battle against Taraji on day 13, it recommends using the Stardust Gun and aiming for wide-range attacks, utilizing the magma in the arena by luring the opponent towards it and using traps. In the second battle against Tsurugi on day 13, the strategy is to continuously flee while attacking with the Rayfall gun, as Tsurugi uses the Spia robot with stealth capabilities and a 2-stage dash. The guide suggests using satellite pods and the grander leg part, and to avoid unnecessary jumps. It also mentions different attack types in the game: attack, evasion, anti-air, and movement. This page is a strategy guide for level 7 and level 8 of Kirby Tilt and Tumble, known in Japan as Koro Koro Kirby, for the Game Boy Color. The guide provides maps for stages 71 to 74 and 81 to 84, detailing layouts with stars, holes, and attack points marked on the maps. There are gameplay tips, advising players about moving floors, and the importance of careful button presses. The legend explains the map symbols: red star, blue star, yellow star, hole, and attack points. It mentions that stars are often in difficult-to-reach places, requiring various techniques to obtain them. The guide suggests collecting all stars as a reward, and notes that the map legend icons are described in the margins. It also points out that level 83 is a forced scrolling stage, and encourages players to keep moving forward. This page provides strategy points for levels 7 and 8 of Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Level 7 tips cover obtaining the red star by navigating disappearing red floors, using bumpers to jump, and dealing with falling cloud platforms and tunnels. The level 7 boss is Mega Stider, advising players to avoid bumping into it. Level 8 tips detail navigating bumper-filled terrain and using bumpers for jumps to obtain red stars. The level 8 boss is King Dedede, where players should avoid his body, hit his back to make him release Kirby, and exploit the barrier disappearance for attack opportunities, suggesting 10 hits to defeat him. The page also mentions an extra stage that unlocks by collecting 32 red stars across all levels, increasing the difficulty, and a secret technique section. The next page is a strategy guide for partner events in the Game Boy Color game, Harvest Moon GB3, Boy Meets Girl, which was released only in Japan. The page title translates to Partner Events Revealed for You Who Are Troubled by a Maiden's Heart. It features an event flowchart for male characters and details various events numbered 1 through 11, leading to marriage. For each event, it outlines the affection level requirement, conditions for occurrence, and choices with their affection point changes. Some events are visually represented with screenshots from the game, depicting in-game scenarios and dialogue related to each event. The guide provides players with information on how to navigate partner events and increase affection to achieve marriage in the game. This page is a guide focused on capturing a male character's heart in the game Harvest Moon GB3, subtitled Girl Version. It provides an event flowchart for female players to navigate relationship progression. The guide details 10 key events necessary to advance the story, starting from Kenka Hase, argument, and progressing to Kokuhaku, confession, and eventually Kekkon, marriage, or a bad ending called Hona Sayonara. For each event, the guide presents dialogue choices for the player, showing how each choice affects the affection level with the male character. For example, in Event 1, Kenka Hase, choosing Isho ni Ganbaru, let's work hard together, increases affection by 5 points, while Sona no Murida, that's impossible, results in no change. A page also includes a Serifu de Aihudo wo check section, showcasing example dialogues for both the girl and boy characters at different affection levels, ranging from 09 to 70+. This allows players to gauge their relationship status based on the character's lines. This page is focused on The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons for the Game Boy Color, a game where autumn is perfectly suited for RPG gameplay. It delves into the secrets of the individual characters appearing in this latest Zelda adventure. The article introduces 8 distinct characters and their characteristics, cautioning players about their unique attacks and advising on effective countermeasures. The characters highlighted are Octorok, which hides in rocks, Buzzblob, seemingly weak but capable of counterattacking, Dokuro Knight, Skull Knight, a swordsman who attacks head-on, Floormaster, with large hands to grab and throw Link, Like, who swallows Link whole, Deeknuts, who suddenly appears from underground and spits Deku seeds, Boss Aquamentus, who uses beam attacks in dungeons, and a bonus section featuring Kuko and Baby Kuko, advising caution around these familiar creatures. The page also mentions that the release date for The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, has been slightly delayed to January 2001, but confidently states that there should be no further delays, questioning when players will finally get to play it. The next page talks about Mario Tennis GB, which is described as an evolution of the original Game Boy version, now in color. The main focus is on the story mode, where you become a student at a tennis academy, improving your tennis skills with a partner. The page highlights the character development system. You earn experience points through matches and training to improve your character's parameters like serve and spin strength. You distribute these points to level up your stats, balancing your character's abilities based on your preferences. Ranking up in the academy is also important. As you climb the ranks from junior to senior, you can earn special items like rackets and shoes. These items boost your player's abilities. The page also mentions minigames, and that you can link with the Nintendo 64 version of Mario Tennis. You can use characters you've trained in the Game Boy Color version in the N64 game, and new characters can be unlocked, along with minigames, making it 3 times more fun. Minigames include Target Shot and others. This page introduces Grandia, Parallel Trippers, a brand new RPG for the Game Boy Color, and a sequel in the Grandia series. It emphasizes an epic story and mentions that it's set in the Grandia world, where players will search for lost friends and aim to return to their original world. The page highlights the strategic battle system, which involves using action cards and an IP gauge. Action cards are placed in the IP gauge to determine attack timing and power, with faster attacks possible depending on placement. Action combos can be triggered by strategically placing action cards in the IP gauge. The article also introduces characters like Yuhi, the main protagonist, and Pinky, a mysterious creature who accompanies him on his adventures. Finally, it mentions a developer talk event at the Tokyo Game Show, featuring producer Miyagi and chief editor Hasegawa, discussing the game's card battle system designed for Game Boy. This page announces the upcoming release of Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children Black Book and Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children Red Book for the Game Boy. It's highlighted as the newest installment in the Shin Megami Tensei series. The article is focused on getting players ready for the game by explaining the game systems and introducing key characters. The game system section details the RPG elements, mentioning exploration, communication, and negotiation with devils and battles, and devil fusion. It explains that communication allows you to befriend devils and make them your partners. The article also highlights that the Black Book and Red Book versions will have different scenarios and protagonists. The character section introduces the main protagonist, Kai Setsuna, from Black Book, described as a thoughtful boy. His partner is Cool, an imp-like devil who dislikes being treated as a child and is quite mischievous. Other characters include Nagahisa, Setsuna's brother, Takajo Zeto, who helps with adventures but his true motives are unknown, Elegy, a mysterious girl from the demon world, and Belle, the partner of the Red Book protagonist who is prideful and self-reliant. Finally, the Hamidashi Tsushin section discusses communication features, mentioning that using a cable allows for battles and trading devils with friends. It also mentions the fusion of devils, which doesn't always result in the expected outcome, and sometimes creates unexpected demons. This page introduces the Game Boy title, Tales of Phantasia, Narikiri Dungeon, a popular RPG sequel on the Game Boy. It dives into the new systems of personality and costumes. Players equip costumes to change jobs and master special skills. Personality affects events and gameplay, and is determined by parameters. The page also highlights that new costumes can be created using an order-made system. Featured characters Dio and Mel are shown with game screenshots demonstrating the costume and personality systems. Monster Tactics for Game Boy Color features two key gameplay elements. The Montaku is a device used to collect monster information, similar to DNA, through defeating monsters in dungeons. The Montaku scanner records monster data, which can be used with the Skill Ring, a wearable device allowing players to utilize scanned monster skills. Up to 6 skills can be equipped. The game also introduces Command Master for Neos V battles. This system utilizes a motion sensor, where players tilt the Game Boy and input commands, impacting Neos' strength. For example, the Gaia Energy special move requires specific shaking motions. The game includes 80 types of Neos and a rock-paper-scissors-based battle system with 5 technique affinities: Force, Energy, Arts, Guile, and Team. This page is showcasing upcoming game information, highlighting 2 titles. First up is Attack Com Dungeon Dollarlander, which looks like a dungeon-crawling RPG with a card battle system. You build decks of creatures and items represented as cards to use within dungeons. It emphasizes strategic creature placement in your dungeon to hinder opponents and features turn-based battles against bosses. The goal seems to be collecting keys and jewels within the dungeons. The second game featured is New Chapter Brave Saga Astaria. This one is described as an RPG for the Game Boy and is a crossover title bringing together characters from popular anime series, specifically mentioning Brave King Gao Gaigar and Taiyu no Kiba Daguramu, and many others from over 20 anime works. It seems to be a strategy RPG where you form parties of characters and mecha, utilize special moves, and delve into dungeons that change every time you enter. This page introduces Telefang Power Version and Telefang Speed Version Game Boy Color RPGs, where you use a D-Shot mobile phone device to journey into the world of electric monsters and befriend them. The game features 3 evolution patterns for your electric monsters: natural evolution achieved through leveling up, experimental evolution by injecting DNA, and remodeling evolution by combining monsters with machinery. The first edition of the game includes a special Telefang Power Antenna. The page also previews GB Halo Robot Pet Battle Link, an RPG where you train robot pets called Halos to become the strongest robot battlers. You can combine up to 5 parts to customize your robot pet, and it can transform into giant robots. The article highlights giant robot action with examples like the Scope Dog from Armored Trooper Votoms and the Vital Guarder from Infinite Rovius, showcasing their special moves in the game. This page features a variety of game previews. Firstly, there's a look at Kaizoku Zuner, a puzzle battle game for the N64, where you play as students at Nanzu Elementary School. You solve riddles, and can even use your TV or video remote in a special Nazora remote control mode using infrared communication. Next up is Rainbow Island. Although it's noted as being released on the Game Boy, this classic action game involves using rainbow magic to fight enemies and explore islands, with each island having 4 rounds culminating in a boss fight. Then, there's Medarot 3 Parts Collection, highlighting the massive amount of parts and medals to collect in the game, boasting 604 part types and 30 medals. It seems to be focused on the parts collection aspect of the Medarot series. Finally, Samurai Kid is previewed, an action puzzle game where you play as Prince Homura Maru of Hinomoto Country battling evil yokai in a mysterious castle. You'll use weapons like gourds, katanas, and ugi to solve puzzles and defeat enemies. This page is packed with upcoming game news. First up is the latest Ganbare Goemon game, subtitled Hoshizora Shito Dynamite's Arawaru, which is a temporary title. This action title from Konami is coming out in December, and looks to be a classic Goemon adventure across Japan, with platforming, weapons, and jumps. It's also said to have minigames and the Goemon Impact mode. Next, there's Hamster Club 2, a hamster breeding simulation game from Jolden, also slated for December. This sequel to the popular manga-themed game lets you raise hamsters, train them, and compete in contests to become a breeding master. Familiar characters return, along with new hamsters, and you'll be doing all the usual hamster care tasks. Moving on, Super Robot Pinball is bringing giant robots to pinball. This Media Factory title, jointly planned with Banpresto, features super robots like Gundam in a pinball setting. You power up your robot to take on bosses, and high scores unlock even more robots. It's described as having special moves and command attacks to enhance the pinball action. Lastly, welcome to Pia Carrot. 2.2 is the latest in the romance simulation series, this time for Game Boy Color. You'll be finding romance at a family restaurant as a mascot girl, balancing work, study, and your love life with the protagonist. The game features original characters from the Saturn version and promises events and changing girl affections based on your choices, including uniform selection. This update features several new Game Boy games. Kindaichi Case Files, 10th Year Invitation Murder Case, is an adventure game where players solve mysteries through investigation and choice-driven scenarios. Train to Go 2 is a train simulation focusing on realistic operation and train photography across several lines. Rokumon Tengai Monkale Knights GB is an RPG based on the anime, involving monster collection and befriending. Jibakukun GB is an action RPG where the player controls Jibakun in a side-scrolling format, with the ability to attack and be thrown as a bomb. Lastly, Harenshi Gakuen the Cosplayer is an RPG aimed at children, based on the Harenshi Gakuen anime. Players help townspeople overcome nightmares, battling using comical moves, and collecting over 100 monsters. This page previews upcoming Game Boy Color games. OHA Star Dance Dance Revolution GB is a dance game. Hiryu no Ken Twin Dragons GB is a fighting game with a strategic Mindai system. Jet to Go is a flight simulator with JL Cooperation, releasing October 27th. Chi to Ase, to Namida no Kuku Yakyu is a high school baseball management sim, releasing November 3rd. Dance Dance Revolution GB2 introduces a finger controller, launching November 16th. Sorayuk, Anpanman Go Go 5 Go no, Tu no Usama is an action-adventure game, out November 17th. Mahujin Guru Guru, an RPG based on the anime, offers 4-player simultaneous play, also releasing November 17th. Lastly, Dai Katana GB, releasing December 1st, is an action RPG with time travel and exploration. This page unveils secret techniques, or Urawaza, for the Game Boy game GB3, which is Harvest Moon GBC internationally, and also features Pokemon de Panapon, which is Pokemon Puzzle League outside of Japan. For Harvest Moon GBC, the page details 2 main Urawaza. The first is a cheat to start the game with 99,999 G and all 99 types of seeds. This involves setting the player's name and blood type to specific values during character creation, The second Urawaza is a sound test feature, accessed by going to the theater after achieving the good ending and interacting with a specific location in the building. The page also reveals secret conditions for obtaining Pokemon in Pokemon de Panepon, Pokemon Puzzle League. These conditions involve achieving certain chain combos within the game. Specifically, Pikachu is obtained by clearing 6 or more panels simultaneously, Marill for achieving 4 or more chains, Togepi by clearing 10 or more panels simultaneously, and Otachi, Sentret, for achieving 7 or more chains. The page includes screenshots from both games illustrating these points and conditions. This page offers tips and tricks for Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games. For The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, it reveals secrets regarding Romani and rupee saving in the haunted house. Mario Story Tips detail how to obtain a melon. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge reveals how to unlock harder difficulties and access hidden options. Metabots 3 has a parts shop trick. The page also includes acknowledgements, reader contribution details, and submission guidelines via postcard or FAX, with prize tiers for accepted tips. Contact information for the editorial department is provided, including an address and FAX number, along with information about new editors. Phone inquiries about tips cannot be answered. This page is focused on Pokemon Stadium 2, known in Japan as Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver, highlighting the new cup battles available in the game. It mentions compatibility with Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal on Game Boy. The page details 4 new cup modes. The Nintendo Cup, which is the official tournament style using 246 types of Pokemon between levels 5055. The Little Cup, for unevolved Pokemon hatched from eggs, up to level 5. The Ultra Cup, a no-holds-barred battle with level 100 Pokemon. And the Challenge Cup, a mysterious mode to test your Pokemon mastery with unknown rules. It also teases new mysterious gifts in Pokemon Gold and Silver itself that can be enjoyed solo, featuring a character who exchanges gifts, and showcases new mini-games in Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver like Pichu's Electricity Classroom and Lucky's Egg Grade Strategy. The page notes the game uses battery backup, supports the controller pack, and was set for release on December 14th. This page details information about the 4th annual Pokemon League competition in Japan, likely for the Game Boy Color games Pokemon Gold and Silver, since Pocket Monster's Crystal version is mentioned on the page. It highlights the upcoming Pokemon Crystal version, stating that players can now choose a female protagonist in this version for the first time. The page lists the official rules for the Pokemon League tournament, including restrictions on the number and level of Pokemon trainers can enter. It also forbids the use of certain Pokemon like Mew, Mewtwo, Lugia, Hu, and Celebi, as well as certain moves in the final Pokemon. The schedule and locations for the Pokemon League are provided, listing different cities across Japan from November to December. Information on how to apply for the competition is also given, requiring participants to send a postcard with personal details like name, address, age, and phone number to the Pokemon League office. This magazine section announces a prize giveaway featuring Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games and merchandise. Prizes include N64 games like Custom Robo V2, Sin and Punishment, and Perfect Dark, as well as Game Boy titles Mario Tennis GB, Mega Man X Cyber Mission, and Demi-Kids. Other prizes include a Ghost Stories restaurant game, a Polytan doll, illustration cards, a Game Boy Color, and Pokemon speaker plushies. To enter, readers must answer a question on a postcard, specify their desired prize, attach a 50-yen stamp, and submit it by November 4th. Winners will be announced in the following issue. This page is announcing New Game Flash and Coming Soon, highlighting the latest games of the 20th century with a promise of delivering tons of information. Featured is an illustration from Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, showing a futuristic military scene with soldiers and a large vehicle, with a woman standing in the foreground. There is also a screenshot from a game, with text saying, Start Skip above it, and a speech bubble stating, This is a good opportunity to test your blood power inherited from you. The page lists several games and their page numbers. Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, on page 102. Banjo-Tooie, referred to as Banjo and Kazooie's Great Adventure 2, on page 108. Mario Party 3 on page 110. Mega Man Legends, referred to as Rockman Dash, Steel Adventure Heart on page 112. Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum on page 114, and Echo Delta on page 115. This page details the game modes and options for Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. Players can start the main game via Start/Continue, saving progress mid-stage training mode. offers missions to learn controls. Ranking mode tracks scores, hits, and clear times for competitive play. Scene Select allows stage replays, while Model/OPT features music and unlockable content. Game Level offers easy and normal difficulties, and Sound adjusts audio output. Save Data manages a single save file, and Key Config customizes controls from 3 presets. The game emphasizes player preference for control schemes. This page introduces the basic controls and gameplay mechanics for a 3D action game on the N64. It details various character actions like movement, jumping, rolling, double jumping, gun and sword attacks, and aiming. The page also thoroughly explains the game's HUD, highlighting elements such as S-score, hit count, aiming reticle and line, AF, time, and boss health. It describes how to earn points, increase hit counts, and utilize items like time, life, and point pickups to progress and achieve higher scores. The game seems focused on defeating enemies and mastering character actions to succeed. It is presented as a new work flash, suggesting it might be a preview of an upcoming title. This page details the first 2 stages of the N64 game Sin and Punishment. Stage 00, Dream Battle in a Dream, serves as a tutorial to familiarize players with the controls and introduces the game's protagonist, Saki. The story describes Saki as a leader-like figure in a rescue group who was resting after battle when he encounters ruffians in a dream. The gameplay point for this stage is to defeat as many ruffians as possible to master the controls. It features encounters with countless ruffians, including B-type ruffians that attack in swarms, and fast centipede-type ruffians that appear suddenly from underground. Stage 11, Road to Escape from the Capital, continues the story, with Saki escaping the capital, Tokyo, which is being invaded. This stage focuses on combat against armed volunteer soldiers who have barricaded the roads. Players are instructed to destroy cranes blocking the path by attacking them with Saki's weapon. The stage also features intensified attacks from stronger armed volunteers and introduces crab-type ruffians, which appear suddenly. Players must be aware of attacks from both the ground and air, and also be prepared for high-performance combat aircraft approaching from behind. This page is a preview for Stage 12 of the Nintendo 64 game Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. The stage is set within NJR Shinjuku Station and is titled NJR Shinjuku Station Internal Offense/Defense. The story introduction explains that Saki enters the station searching for a leader, but finds it overrun with armed volunteers and ruffians, including a monster called Radon. The page highlights key points for this stage, including being aware of the armed volunteers and ruffian attacks, and the boss battle against Radon. It also mentions different types of enemies players will encounter, such as flying bikes and lizard-type ruffians. The character Kachua is introduced as the leader of the armed volunteers, who is also pursuing Radon. The text hints at a future confrontation between Kachua and Saki after Saki defeats Radon. Intriguing future developments are teased, mentioning a giant creature and questioning the true objective of the commander. The page promises more details in the next issue. This page introduces the game Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth. Tsumi Tabatsu, Hoshi no Keishusha. It sets the scene in a near future where humanity achieved unprecedented peace and prosperity. But overpopulation led to food shortages, too. To solve this, humans created a new species as a food source. However, aggressive creatures called ruffians emerged from this new species and began attacking humans. The story describes how these ruffians spread across Japan, reaching the Tohoku region and causing widespread chaos and violence, forcing the International Peacekeeping Organization, Armed Volunteers, to intervene militarily. The page features character illustrations and sets the stage for the game's narrative and conflict. Custom Robo V2, a Japan-exclusive game, features conflict between 3 main groups. The Relief Group, led by Aki, and including Saki Amamiya and Iran Joe, faces off against the Ruffian, a group led by Radon, that attacks food production. The Armed Volunteers, a peacekeeping force backed by American weapons manufacturers, clash with the Ruffian to restore order in Tokyo. Key members include the Commander and Katyusha. A key weapon in the game is the Gunsword G and RM64 JPC Dolphin Police Standard, originally used by City Police, but later modified for greater power, and used by the protagonists Saki and Iran, due to the food crisis and ecological disruption causing food shortages that serve as the backdrop of the conflict. Banjo-Kazooie 2, titled Banjo-Tooie, sees the return of the bear and bird duo 2 years after Gruntilda's apparent defeat. The game explores their reunion and the circumstances of their new adventure. Screenshots showcase gameplay, including interactions with characters like Mumbo Jumbo and a card game scene. Bottles, the mole previously thought dead, returns to aid Banjo and Kazooie, joined by his military-clad brother. The game teases a major crisis and the return of Gruntilda, resurrected by her sisters. The N64 cartridge game, set for release on November 27 at 6,800 yen, utilizes 256 MB of memory, supports 1 to 2 players, and is classified as an action game. This page is all about Banjo-Kazooie 2, officially known as Banjo-Tooie in English territories. It's presented as a preview, showcasing new features and addressing fan speculation. The page highlights an interview with Banjo and Kazooie, discussing new actions and stage designs. They mention that there are now 3 types of eggs with different uses, and hints at new actions beyond what players experienced in the first game. The screenshots showcase various new stage themes like ruins, desert, deep sea, and volcano levels. There's a section titled My Recommendation, featuring a player's comment, praising the battle mode, where you can play against each other, suggesting a multiplayer component which is expanded upon in Banjo-Tooie. It mentions kart racing and collecting points, implying minigames within the multiplayer. Another section addresses rumors, stating that Mumbo Jumbo denies rumors of Banjo and Kazooie working separately. It also mentions a 2-line rumor, suggesting that Gruntilda might have another sister who could appear in this game, and discusses whether she will be helping or hindering Banjo and Kazooie this time. This page is all about Mario Party 3 and highlights new features for the game. It's promoting it as the latest in the popular Mariopa series, using Mariopa as a shortened name for Mario Party in Japan. The page emphasizes new map events that are more engaging for all players, not just those taking their turn. It introduces Navigator for maps and showcases new minigames. It mentions there are 70 brand new minigames in total, and gives brief descriptions of 4 of them. Go, Go, Rocket is a 2vs2 minigame where players pump air into a rocket and launch it. Tadakite Mini Koopa is described as a whack-a-mole style minigame where players hit Mini Koopas, Koopa Kids, that pop out of pipes. It's a 4-player battle minigame. Hara Hara, Pekpuku is a 4-player battle minigame where players escape from a Pekpuku fish, implying they need to swim away quickly to avoid being eaten. Pin Pitari is a golf-style minigame where players take turns teeing off and try to get their ball closest to the hole. It's a 4-player battle minigame focusing on precision shots. The page also includes a section titled Space-Based Star, hinting at a storyline element, describing a legendary star born once every 1,000 years that has fallen to the Mario world, becoming the object of a battle. The game is listed for release on December 7th and priced at 5,800 yen, requiring 256 MB of memory and supporting 1 to 4 players. This page is showcasing the powerful and fun game modes in Mario Party 3. It highlights several game modes, starting with Story Mode where players challenge stages in order to obtain stamps, and the Millennium Star using a stamp card. Playable characters in Story Mode are Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, and Wario. The page then explains the Duel Match mode, a new rule set for 2 players, emphasizing one-on-one battles to reduce the opponent's stamina. The Battle Royale map mode allows up to 4 players to battle on stages of their choosing, and even includes COM players for solo play. A key new feature is the Helper Character system. Helper characters can attack and reduce opponents' stamina, but they require coins as payment. New helper characters are decided by a roulette. Finally, 4 minigames are briefly introduced. Coin Lake, a 2vs2 minigame where players cooperate to control a raft and collect coins while avoiding hammers. Bonfire of Agitation, a 2vs2 minigame where players use hoses to extinguish bonfires. Guru Guru Wheel, a 1vs3 minigame where one player operates a wheel to drop the other 3. And Where Is It, a 1vs3 minigame where one player uses a searchlight to find hidden players in the dark. The page suggests that minigames can reverse unfavorable situations and add to the excitement of Mario Party 3. This page is a preview of Rockman DASH, known internationally as Mega Man Legends, for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game as an action RPG adventure set on a steel treasure island. The article emphasizes the transition from the PlayStation version to the N64, mentioning the enjoyment of exploring a 3D polygon world freely and the excitement of ancient ruins exploration and battles, promising 120% more fun. The page introduces key characters, Rock, Roll, and Barrel Casket as the Rock Casket family, and Tysil Bond as the leader of the Air Pirates Bond family, highlighting their central roles in the story. The screenshots show in-game environments and gameplay, including scenes of Rock fighting enemies in a watery environment and operating a vehicle called the Flutter. Another image shows Tysil Bond speaking with a subordinate inside a room, suggesting plot development. The text details the story. Set in a distant future Earth, mostly submerged underwater, humanity lives on remaining lands, building unique cultures on ruins of ancient civilizations. Dig-outers, like Barrel and Rock, are introduced as people who excavate and uncover these ancient relics, with the story revolving around the secrets sleeping on an island. It mentions that Roll is the straight-faced operator of the Flutter and a reliable partner for Rock. It also mentions battles on the lake against Zoof Growlit submarines with varying performance based on color, and the Bond family's eldest daughter, Tron Bond, who relentlessly challenges Rock. This page introduces the world and characters of Mega Man Legends, originally known in Japan as Rockman DASH. It highlights the Casket family, focusing on Rock Volnut, the main protagonist, a daring digger who explores ruins for treasure. Roll Casket, his bright and mechanically gifted support, develops special weapons and navigates for Rock. Barrel Casket, their adoptive grandfather, is a wise retired digger providing advice. The page then introduces the mischievous Bonnet family, air pirates and rivals to Rock. Tysil Bond is the intelligent leader, Tron Bond is a mechanical genius who sees Rock as a rival, and Bon Bon, the youngest, is surprisingly strong. The Kobuns are the Bond family's small, quirky robot soldiers. Finally, the page previews some of the other characters Rock will meet in town, such as Mayor Amelia of Apple Market, a group of mischievous kids, a junk shop owner, and a TV announcer who reports on events in the game. Screenshots show gameplay and character interactions in this action-adventure title. This page highlights the Nintendo 64 game Dance Dance Revolution Disney Dancing Museum. It's described as a popular dance game featuring Mickey Mouse and other Disney characters. The game is said to be easy to pick up with simple rules, where players step to the rhythm of music using directional arrows to fill a gauge and clear stages. This N64 version boasts many Disney characters and a wide selection of Disney songs, including both original tracks and familiar tunes. The page details a session mode, which is a puzzle piece mode, and mentions that there are over 20 songs in total, with 10 available from the start. A song list is shown including titles like Mickey Mouse March, Electrical Parade, and Go Go Go. The genre for each song is also noted, such as parade and rock and roll. Screenshots showcase gameplay with various Disney characters dancing. The page also mentions a dedicated controller for the game and recommends it for a better playing experience. The next page showcases Echo Delta for the N64, a real-time underwater strategy game where sound is key to gameplay. You control a submarine, tasked with collecting resources and rescuing stranded ships within an 18-minute time limit before air runs out. The game flow is explained in 3 steps. First, gather resources by exploring the seabed, then invest those resources to power up your submarine, and finally, rescue the stranded ships before time runs out. The page breaks down the gameplay screen elements, highlighting the air meter, which is crucial as it depletes over time leading to game over, the energy resource essential for actions, enemy locations, and the overall map displaying key points of interest. Unit types are introduced. The Scout, a player-controlled submarine equipped with radar, wave attacks, and resource-gathering capabilities. Gunners, which are defensive units placed around resource plants to automatically defend against enemies and can be upgraded. And Plants, which are resource-gathering bases, with different types and upgradable yields, communicating their status through sounds. The developers, Yasuda-san the game designer, and Ogawara-san the main programmer, share insights. Yasuda-san describes the game genre as more of an investment SLG, emphasizing strategic resource allocation. Ogawara-san notes the game's simple interface, focusing on sound cues to make it accessible and enjoyable, despite the challenges in implementing the sound system. They both express their team's enjoyment during development and encourage players to look forward to the game. The next page is titled, Genius Creator talks about the charm of N64 software. Shigeru Miyamoto's N64 spirit. It is the final installment of this series, looking back at Shigeru Miyamoto's words on the appeal of the N64. This feature is presented as a valuable preservation piece, revisiting past Miyamoto quotes to understand his thoughts on game development. The page highlights 8 N64 games that have been previously featured: Wave Race 64, 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, GoldenEye 007, Super Mario 64, Star Fox 64, Pilotwings 64, F-Zero X, and Yoshi's Story. For each game, there is a brief description and a quote related to its development. The article discusses Miyamoto's philosophy of game development, focusing on the idea that games are created through director-like collective work. He emphasizes the importance of editorial work and game management. Miyamoto states that the essence of a game is interactive and discusses the concept of game-in-game, meaning that the fun of a game is within the game itself. He also touches upon the idea of considering unprecedented viewpoints when creating games, exemplified by the development of Super Smash Bros., aiming for exhilarating melee action. The article mentions that in games like Star Fox 64 and Zelda, they use real-time movie-like direction instead of pre-rendered videos to maintain interactivity, highlighting the importance of this aspect in their game design. Miyamoto believes that creating interactive games is more important than just creating impressive demo videos. This page highlights Shigeru Miyamoto's philosophy on game design, emphasizing interactive experiences over cinematic ones. He views Nintendo's innovation, as seen in the Mario series, as key to setting new gaming standards. The article then previews several Nintendo 64 games, offering brief descriptions: Blastozer, Pokemon Stadium, Mario Kart 64, Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire, Mario Party, Banjo-Kazooie, Bomberman 64, Pokemon Snap, Pikachu Genki Daichu, Jungle Emperor Leo, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The previews showcase the N64's diverse offerings, from action and puzzle games to party experiences and innovative titles like Pokemon Snap. Miyamoto ends by stressing the ongoing evolution of game design. This page announces the results of the 7th Dengeki Game 3 Awards, covering illustration, comic, and novel categories. It lists the Grand Prize, Gold Prize, Silver Prize, and judges' special awards for each category, along with the winning titles, creators, and their ages and prefectures. For the illustration category, the Gold Prize winner is for Secrets of the Factory, and the Silver Prize winner is for Untitled. The comic category Gold Prize went to for Under Carnival, and the Silver Prize to for Katana. The novel category Gold Prize went to for Hyankyo Yabushi, and the Silver Prize to for Magic Story. Images of winning entries are shown for illustration and comic categories. A group photo of the award winners is also included. This page reports on the Dengeki Game 3 Awards. It announces that while many talented works were submitted across categories, no grand prize was awarded this time. The judges, including manga artist Go Nagai, felt that while the overall level was high, no work was definitively outstanding enough for the top prize. The judges provided feedback, noting an increase in CG submissions and improving basic art skills, but emphasized the need for stronger characters, world building, and original ideas in future submissions. The page highlights past grand prize winners, such as Enzan Yumekyu for the novel Ringtail, Dream Chasers, and Takeshi Kodama for the comic Heisei Illusion. It also mentions Kuhei Kadono, the author of the popular Boogie Pop series, which originated from a previous award. The Boogie Pop series is noted for its best-selling status and anime adaptation. Finally, the page details the guidelines for the 8th Dengeki Game 3 Awards, with a deadline of April 10, 2001, and outlines the categories for game novels, illustrations, and comics, along with the prize money for each award level. Past winners like Ku Kyoichiro of Time Leap Far Away, Hideyuki Furuhashi of the Black Rod series, Yuki Hiro of the ABC series, Taro Akakura of Don't Drink My Blood series, and Yuki Miyashita of the Cold Gehenna series are listed as examples of successful authors who started at the Dengeki Awards. This page from the magazine highlights a feature on Nintendo Power, NP, and the revival of classic games for the service. The main headline is about Metal Slayer Glory, Director's Cut, for Nintendo Power, a remake of the Famicom adventure game developed by HAL Laboratory. It mentions that pre-orders are being taken from October 1st to 31st, and details the enhanced graphics and world setting of the game. The page lists other games being re-released on Nintendo Power, including titles like Dr. Mario, Super Famicom Wars, Famicom Detective Club Part 2, Super Punch-Out!, F-Zero, Maximum Velocity, The Legend of the Mystical Ninja 2, Balloon Fight GB, and Super Mario Bros. DX. Another section focuses on Furai no Shiren 2, Shiren the Wanderer 2, and announces the release of postcards and a calendar for the game, available from Chunsoft. Finally, there's a piece about the Game Boy Color game Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Children, Demikids, and its anime adaptation, which is airing on CBC TBS every Saturday morning. The ending theme song, Aurora Healing, is by the band Platin A Forest. This page reports on the Tokyo Game Show 2000 autumn event, which attracted a large crowd of 137,000 visitors over 3 days, with booths from Square and Sega and displays for Game Boy Advance and iMode games there. There is a section about the filming of a Maritini GB commercial featuring actress Yokoyama Megumi, who plays a mother in the advert. Announcements are made for a second GB Zoid campaign with Brave Liger Edition and Command Wolf Blue version toys, plus Telefang Power Antenna as a customization item for Game Boy. A new home karaoke system called Kiss Sight from Takara is introduced. Hudson is releasing Battle Baseball Card Power League 2000 baseball cards. Finally, there are 2 game ranking charts showing the top N64 and Game Boy games, including titles like Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Pokémon Gold and Silver, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Mario Story, Harvest Moon GB2, Meteorot 3, Mario Party 3, Perfect Dark, Sin and Punishment, Successor of the Earth, and Custom Robo V2. The next page is a comical look at Hot Springs and Yukata with an OG Grandpa theme. It features a comic strip where characters cosplay as PD officers and engage in humorous hot spring antics. There's a scene about wanting mixed bathing, and then a comedic bit with a sniper rifle, and taking photos of women in the hot spring. The strip also includes a mention of the game Custom Robo, where characters are depicted playing and enjoying it. This page features a humorous comic strip about escaping work for a hot spring trip, and is dedicated to Shioman 64. The comic section begins with a girl in a hot spring, seemingly in a video game context, then switches to a gunfight scenario referencing a failed strategy involving Mariko-kun. Trial Training 2 is mentioned along with a character on the phone, hinting at Silent 2 and Thailand. The central comic strip showcases girls in a hot spring who are surprised to be peeped at, in a scenario described as bride training. Suddenly, Mario appears, naked with a towel, leading to comedic reactions and dialogue about showing and not showing, and threats of violence. The text, Big Service, highlights this comical reveal. Reader submissions are featured, with names and locations like Niigata, Miyagi, Gunma, and Tokyo. One mentions Perfect Dark, with the contributor Puncho-kun from Niigata saying Thailand is playing PD to death. Another submission mentions a marathon runner, Mariko-kun, in Gunma. Other drawings include autumn themes, a bunny girl, Mariko-kun, and roasted chestnuts, indicating reader submissions are seasonal and varied. The editor's notes at the bottom are playful, commenting on wanting to play games, and suggesting that Thailand and a new person are changing, with a hint at a mysterious development in the next issue. They jokingly question and then praise Thailand's work ethic, despite implying he might be playing around instead. This page is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 game Perfect Dark. It showcases a silhouetted image of Joanna Dark holding a gun. The advert highlights the game as a spy action title, emphasizing single-player missions where players take on the role of Joanna Dark in infiltration and destruction missions. It also mentions multiplayer for up to 4 players with customizable rules and weapons. The ad notes the game requires a memory expansion pack to play and lists prices for the game cartridge alone and a bundle including the memory expansion pack. It also includes a warning about violent scenes in the game. This page is an advertisement for 2 Mahjong games on the Game Boy Color. The first is Dejiko's Mahjong Party, which features characters from Daiji I Sheret. The second game is Neon Genesis Evangelion Mahjong Completion Plan, which is based on the Evangelion anime, and it seems to include a story mode. Both games feature battle modes and trading cards. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Tales of Phantasia, Narrated Dungeon, which was a Japanly release. The advert introduces the game's concept as a Narrated Dungeon, where characters Mel and Dio can change jobs and gain special abilities by wearing different costumes. It mentions that the game allows you to enjoy various special skills by dressing up in costumes. The release date is stated as November 10th, with a price of 4,500 yen, excluding tax. The game is compatible with both Game Boy and Game Boy Color and supports Super Game Boy and Pocket Printer. The character design is credited to Kosuke Fujishima,